then I might figure out like the topic that's the most needed to talk about. You know, kind of help me structure the lecture. But actually, before we ask questions, if each person can go around and say, what is in one sentence, what is the thing that you want to teach other people? Whether it's through teleseminars, info products, doesn't really matter the medium, but what is the thing that you want to teach or educate about? In one sentence.
How to teach men how to be better lovers with themselves and others.
Wow. I'm gonna get a pen myself. I don't need to write it there, but I want to write it.
Good, I imagine you're hungry.
I'm very hungry. I'm
All right.
hostage too.
You too?
Yeah. You?
Yeah, I ate for the first time around 5 o'clock.
Mm.
Yeah, just didn't leave my room, was too busy.
All right.
Next.
Oh no. I'm gonna teach people how to move well.
Can you be more specific?
Yeah. Gymnastics, rock climbing, physical training.
And what does well mean? I guess even though I said one sentence, I'm gonna ask you.
Well means like how the body should move. Like move like a child.
Okay.
Move like your body's designed to move.
Okay.
Interesting. You should talk.
Optimally.
Optimally. That's good.
All right, Mark.
Sorry, I was just jotting down some. Move like you were meant to, naturally.
Move.
Yeah.
Like your body is designed to move. You could go
So
popcorn.
one of those things would be is full permission to move with complete expression.
And
For you?
what do you mean by move?
Dance.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Permission to move or dance with complete expression. All right. John?
I want to give people the tools they need to be effective entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs.
What's your name again?
Jack,
Jack. Okay, cool. And what's yours?
I want to help John do that.
Okay, so yours is the same as his?
Yeah.
All right. All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna just go with my gut here, and before we go into like the popcorn Q&A, I want to ask each of you to convert what you just said into what's the burning problem that people want to, that's a pain in someone's life that would make them want to buy this. So think about that for a second.
I sneak out and get some more food.
No, dude, that's it. You made a pact.
Maybe I'll monkey climb over you.
This is a bit
support my movement.
I was gonna say go under, just with the idea that it might not be so challenging.
We're just kind of getting
Maybe
started
give you
with
the-
the first question. So.
Here. Oh yeah, work it. Oh yeah. Alright.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so why don't we go in the same order? So what's the pain, frustration, or the price that men are paying now for not knowing this?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, everyone, this is Hollis, if you haven't met.
Hello everyone.
He's from the San Francisco Men's Circle.
Did you still need that memory card?
No, we got it.
Great.
Yeah, Brian brought his own camera, but thanks.
So they'd be feeling unfulfilled in their sex life and relationships.
And what's the cost of that?
I thought that feeling unfulfilled part would be the cost, but maybe I don't understand what the cost is.
Well, take it further. If someone's unfulfilled, then what else? How might the dominoes keep falling in that direction? That causes other costs in their life,
Lonely,
right?
depressed, frustrated.
Good. Okay. So, Sean, you started your original next. So
Yeah.
go with you next.
Okay.
What's the burning pain, problem, frustration, or cost in someone's life that would have them feel like they need to find a solution? And that's in your
Yeah,
solution.
and the obvious one is just a lack of general health. Usually, as I run into my clients, it's either that they want to do something that they can't do or can no longer do, and that could be because of like, they're too fat to do it, their energy is just really down.
Here, why don't we make room on the bench for all?
Yeah.
Can you get by me?
Yes.
And do you want to get some food? There's you can.
I'll just catch my breath first. That's okay.
Okay. He ran over here, sprinted from San Francisco.
Right.
Did you really bike over
We go
here?
really fast though.
Holy shit. Yeah, I think that summarizes it pretty well for me.
Okay. So let's pick. So here, what I'm going to ask you to do, because yours is kind of broad. This is something Jeff Walker teaches. He's the product launch formula guy. Instead of thinking about like who's my market, like all these thousands of millions of people, pick one. Pick one person that maybe has already been a client of yours.
Probably movers that want to go from good to great.
Pick one. Is your one
Oh,
client?
one client?
Mhm.
Stuart is a good example.
Okay, so with him, tell me what he can't or either couldn't do or could no longer do. That was a pain in his life.
Well, he's a professional, semi-professional Lindy Hop dancer. He's a really good dancer, but posture is suffering because he hasn't really he's a desk worker, so it doesn't matter how much he moves. He also has pretty good imbalances because he's just danced, which is entirely focused on the lower body, so no upper body performance whatsoever. So we've just worked to balance him out.
And before he came to you, or when he first came to you, and he wasn't able to do what he wanted, how was that affecting his life? You guys, even though this is like, you guys might not be selling Lindy Hop dancers, like listen to the process of seeing how the dominoes fall, because this applies to everyone, no matter what you're wanting to teach people.
Yeah.
How did the dominoes fall in his life? Like, how was that affecting him negatively, and what was it costing him?
I don't know if he personally had a cost, or maybe I wasn't just fully tuned into it. I think he was just looking for a new challenge. So maybe that was his cost, is he wasn't being challenged as a man, that likes to move. And
What's the opposite of challenge, or if for a man?
the opposite of challenge? Yeah.
I mean, what's the negative feeling that? How would you describe it?
Boredom, maybe.
Okay.
Unaccomplished.
Yeah.
Unaccomplished, unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Unfulfilled.
I could speak to that. I've had points in my life where I really don't feel engaged in my body and I don't feel like a full man.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm getting weaker every day.
Mm.
I feel like it's like if you're not living, then you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was really present to whenever I haven't been exercising.
Did you ever feel like, would you have used the word emasculated?
Totally.
That's a pain. That's a lot bigger of a price than, what boredom. Right? Boredom's not going to motivate. I mean, it might, but feeling emasculated will motivate someone a lot more than boredom.
For sure.
So, okay. So, Mark, what's the burning frustration,
I like
cost,
that
or
last one
pain?
that you actually just said, but what I put down was actually frustration, embarrassment, self-consciousness, and emasculated. In people who are basically, especially like men who all but won't go on a dance floor, and so they find themselves very, in this area of their life, limited in their ability to connect with women in particular.
And so, you know, if the dominoes keep falling in that direction, what's the cost?
Well,
What are the
the-
other costs? Or you maybe listed some of them already.
Well, that was it, the embarrassment, the frustration, the self-consciousness, but
Right.
that equals, what that would produce is basically you're not getting what it is that you want in your life. So one, you just simply see how to express that in different words than what I've already said. I mean, I just see somebody as sitting on the sidelines, you know, wanting very desperately to be in the game. You know? Yeah.
So Hollis, the first question was, in one sentence, what do you want to teach people to do? It doesn't really matter if it's teleseminars or info products or what, but what is it that you want to teach?
I want to teach them how to master audio.
What does that mean?
There's 5 steps to producing a CD.
Oh,
After you have everything mixed,
Oh, okay.
it's the mastering stage.
mastering like an album.
Mastering an album.
Okay.
Right. The English pun is driving me nuts. Because mastering has 2 meanings.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Okay, I get it. I've done an album and it was mastered, so I understand.
Yeah. So,
So, okay, great. So the question is, what's the burning pain or frustration that someone would have to want that solution? I mean, is it just anyone that's producing a CD needs it?
we teach engineers how to master. So if you're a mix engineer and you want to expand your mastering, or if you're a good mastering engineer and you want to be a great mastering engineer,
So there's some engineers that don't master yet, they just have work tracking?
it's 2 separate worlds.
Right, there's tracking, mixing, and mastering.
Right.
And So,
There's 3 worlds. Some people cross over, but very, very few.
so for those, alright, so give me an example. Do you know anyone that's only in the first world or the first 2? And
Yes.
you know, do they want to learn mastering?
No. He's happy with those 2.
Okay. So what's the pain someone would have to feel, or the frustration someone would have to feel to be compelled to want to learn mastering also?
It costs $1,500 to get a professional to master an album. So it's a high.
Yeah, but if I'm
cost.
an engineer, what do I care? The client's gonna pay for that.
Good point.
Unless you're teaching clients how to master their own, and you don't need to do that.
No.
But what am I losing out? How is it costing me if I'm an engineer and I only do tracking and mixing and not mastering?
Right. That only apply to bands that are mixing their own album.
Alright, so it sounds like maybe you need to think about, I mean, if a band's on a budget and they wanna do the whole thing themselves, then for them, the cost is $1,500.
Right.
They can learn from you and save $1,500 on every album. But I'm not sure what it is for an engineer that's already, would he maybe not be getting enough work?
Engineer is not getting enough work
Not
to
making enough
expand
money.
into mastering.
Okay. I guess what I want you to think about is not the positive benefits of, oh, now I know how to master for my clients, but what is the price he's paying now for not knowing that? So give that some thought. And then, you know, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is if he doesn't have enough work, he's having a hard time making ends meet, and he has, you know, I don't know, 20 billable hours a week, maybe he could have 25 or 30 if he also knew how to master. Okay.
Competition
Right.
strikes me.
Yeah, might someone choose an engineer that can do all 3 and not this guy? Is he losing business because he doesn't have that skill? But even though Mark said it and it sounds good to me and might sound good to you, we can't just go in theories. We need to do market research to find out if that's really true. But it's a good start. All right, John. So, let's see. Tools to be successful entrepreneurs. So what's the price someone's paying now, or what's the pain or frustration in their life that would motivate them to want these tools?
Well, they don't reach their clients. And beneath that is just being broke. And being forced to quit doing what they love to do.
You say they don't reach their clients, you're saying that the clients never even see, prospects never even see their ads?
Yeah.
Or they
yeah,
see
yeah.
their ads
They
and
don't, they
never
don't, well, they
take
don't know how
action.
to get an ad out there, or when they put ads out there, nobody responds.
Okay.
Or if they even get the clicks, nobody buys. I mean, all of those things happen
Mhm.
right along the line.
So the pain point would be failure?
Well,
Yeah.
But get more specific than that. So, you know, I'm an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
I'm advertising and no one's responding or buying.
Yeah.
So how is that, what's the pain or cost to me?
Well, the thing that the entrepreneur is saying to themselves is, I'm losing money. I invested time and money into this,
Right.
and nobody's coming. I'm not making any money, and my
Right.
business is going to be a failure. No
Right.
one's going to work with me.
So this is good. So we got, people don't like to lose things that they already had.
Yeah.
That's worse than not gaining something that you didn't have, right? Like, you know, I heard some story about someone who, you know, they went on vacation 2 hours north of their house, drove home and realized, oh shit, I left my, you know, $50 camera up there. So they drive all the way back. Would they have spent, you know, 4 hours driving somewhere to buy a $50 camera that they never had in the first place? No. Or to get a $50 camera for free?
Mhm.
But it was their camera, now they lost it. They want it back, right? Because they lost something that they had. So that's a big motivator. You know, I mean, it's why probably some people are more motivated to try to get back with their ex-lover, right, than they are to meet someone new. Because, like, I lost something I had, even though maybe I could create it in the future, you know, it hurts more to lose something that I had.
There's a deeper pain point that I keep seeing with my clients is they talk about the money all the time,
Yeah.
but it really is not being able to do what they want to do.
Right.
Entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs because they want to do this thing, whether it's be a yoga teacher, a sculptor, a coach, any of it.
Right.
And that's really the terror that they don't even dare speak, but it's always there, is I'm gonna have to go get a job.
Right.
And that's really what they're
Right.
like fighting about.
Yeah. So, you know, you could write down a couple of phrases that you might want to use in writing copy to describe the future that they dread. Like imagine having to throw in the towel, right?
Right.
You know, like after investing your blood, sweat, and tears, right, for, you know, months or years to make this business happen, and, you know, having to wind up being a quitter.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
imagine is one way to start that. Or I'd hate for you to.
Yep.
Right? I'd hate for you to wind up throwing in the towel, you know, after months or years of spending time and money, right? Okay. All right, so we went around, we got everyone for those things. So, yeah, all right, so I'll let you guys start throwing questions at me popcorn style. And I might refer back to the things that you already told me.
Well, I have a small question. I'm working on an information product with a partner. He's a consultant from up in Marin. And his question that, you know, I told him I was going to this thing, he was like, you got to ask him this question.
Okay.
And he said, when you're doing a teleseminar and you're recording it to release it later on, and people are asking questions, should you edit out the questions or should you leave them in there? And I had my opinion. I was like, you just ask him that. I'm like,
Okay, I think we should leave them in. I mean, it's, Jeff Walker's tons of bonus content is Q&A calls that he recorded. It's just people popcorn style questions asking him,
Sweet.
and
My
he's
listeners
that
are-
adds value. Right.
In the mouth.
Yeah. What else?
I mean, the question I asked you earlier, before everyone shut
Oh,
up.
how to build my email list.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, when you first started, what was the first thing you did to build your email list?
Okay. All right, I'll answer that, and then I want to make a note to myself to talk about something that I thought of as you said it. So, you know, what I'm going to tell you is an example of that a window of opportunity that may be open today may not be still open tomorrow. Okay, so when I first got this idea to build a list of vegans, it was 2001, right before everybody jumped on the bandwagon or knew how to build an opt-in list or, you know, make offers, or before Gmail had a promotions tab, or, you know, there was a need for, you know, AWeber messages to go in our junk folder, you know, before all webmail providers started to worry about all that stuff. And so, you know, I went to an internet marketing conference. This woman had written a book called Potatoes Not Prozac, and she built a community-based website around this theme where, you know, her fans and readers could chat about the topic. And she was selling advertising on the site. So I'm like, I wonder if I could do that with vegans or vegetarians. So I got veganrecipes.com, which you can imagine today trying to get a domain name like that would be pretty hard. But, knowing, like acting when the window's still open. It was just a one-page site with an opt-in form, no recipes. It said, join our community and get a delicious vegan recipe every week by email. And because maybe at some point I got backlinks. I don't really remember. But I started advertising with pay-per-click advertising back when the very first pay-per-click advertising site called GoTo.com was around. And it could get clicks for like between a penny and a nickel, and probably a third or so of the people opted in. So I spent a few $1,000s. I'm guessing. I mean, we can still do that today. I have a 40% opt-in on one of my.
For a nickel?
No, not for a nickel. but the money that you spend to get a click has nothing to do with the opt-in rate.
Okay.
I mean, it's the quality of the lead and the relevance of your offer to what they're interested in. So they're two separate issues. So I spent a few $1,000s, got a few thousand people on my email list, thinking, okay, I'm going to sell advertising. And I had like a couple one-off advertisers, like run an ad once for maybe $200 or something, but no one became a repeat advertiser. And after a while, I was a freelance copywriter getting paid a lot per hour, and I thought this would be cool because it's more of my passion, but I couldn't really justify it because, I wasn't really finding a way to monetize it, and the only way I could think of was to sell advertising. And back then, nobody was talking about membership sites or continuity programs, all this stuff that we know about now, like wasn't in my consciousness because nobody was doing that I was aware of, and or no one was teaching it. So flash forward 8 years. Actually, I remember you came over in 2009. I hired you for a consult, and I said, John, my copywriting work's drying up because of the economy, I guess.
Yeah.
I used to always get work by referrals. And I just logged into Aweber and I have 23,000 vegans on my list. And so what happened was Google put me in the top 10 search results for the phrase vegan recipes. Because at the time, your domain name was pretty important to, the relevance of people's searches. And I guess maybe because I drove a lot of traffic there from pay-per-click, they saw, oh, people like this site or who knows what. I was never an SEO expert. But, So for 8 years, people were finding it in Google and coming and opting in. And I wasn't doing anything with it. But actually, I was smart enough when I stopped sending recipes to the list after 6 months to ask a nonprofit, would you send a recipe, a vegan nonprofit, could you send a recipe to this list every week? And just keep, because I didn't want the list to go stale. If you don't mail a list for like 6 months, it's dead. So they say they only send a recipe once a month, but it was good enough. So at 8 years later, like the list was still somewhat engaged. And then I took it back from them and I started surveying. This is the important part that you guys could do, even if you didn't already have a list. And you can do it with your Facebook community. You could do it maybe if you do have a small list. I started surveying the people on the list and bribing them with, articles and PDFs and recorded interviews that I'd done with experts, and saying, hey, I just recorded this great interview with Elena Love, who's a raw shoot food chef, and here's what we talked about. And I'd love to give it to you as a thank you for taking 2 minutes to fill out a survey, right? All you have to do is click this link, fill out the survey, and on the thank you page of the survey, you'll get the link for the download, right? It's so easy to interview people, right? Record it and make a download page. So, or you could do it, you can write an article. One thing I wouldn't recommend doing, which I did once and a few people complained, is taking someone else's article and using that as the thank you gift. Like, hey, you did the survey, thanks, here's an article to someone else's website with their article. So anyway, okay. So at that point, the kinds of questions I asked and the kinds that you might want to ask are, well, what's your biggest frustration or challenge in this lifestyle? Right? Let them tell you. Now, when you do surveys, don't do a multiple choice only, where you tell them the answers they get to choose from. That's not the best way. It's the most efficient, but it's not the best. You want to hear in their own words the things that they say, right? Because I asked a question in the survey like, you know, if you could take a magic pill and have, you know, all the health benefits that you're hoping for from changing your diet, you know, what would that give you? Or what would that be as if? And a lot of people said a new lease on life. I wouldn't have thought of that. If it was a multiple choice, I wouldn't have put that as a choice, right? So I only knew that because it was an open-ended question. So you know, number one, what are your biggest challenges in trying to achieve this goal or be this lifestyle? So, you know, what's your biggest challenge in your sex life? Right? That would be for you. How to move well. Okay, so what's your biggest challenge as an athlete, gymnast, or rock climber? Right? Or what are your biggest, in your case, I would say, you know, what injuries are you most afraid of? Right? And use the injuries that they say to in your copy, like, you know, I'd hate for you to wind up with a rotator cuff torn, you know, unable to climb rocks for, 2 years. Or we talked about this.
Yeah.
I'd hate for you to, what's another injury that's common?
Tendonitis of the elbow.
Yeah, I mean, I hate for you if you do XYZ the wrong way. That's a good copy point, right?
Yeah.
Like, always use that. You know, if you do XYZ the wrong way, if you approach women the wrong way, if you have intercourse the wrong way, if you go down on her the wrong way, right? Then what's the potential downside? In your case, if you, if you lift weights the wrong way, if you pull on that rock or the rope or whatever the wrong way, well, what could happen? In your case, full permission to move, dance with complete expression. I don't know if you,
If you stand there looking like a chump on the dance floor.
yeah, right.
The biggest thing about
or
that,
if you feel self-conscious while you're trying to dance, and you have a fake smile on your face, and you don't know how to read the signs from the women around you, XYZ, right? Fill in the
Not
blank.
getting laid.
Right. But it's worse than not getting laid. It's like, the women could tell their other friends, like, stay away from this guy, he's weird, right? And then you're like practically blacklisted in the whole dance community, right? So that's a bigger pain than just you're not getting laid. See what I mean? Like, figure out how bad it could get and say it. In your case, I
Let
mean,
me back up. I told you the wrong thing about the company idea.
okay.
I recently cut my business plan in two, so we got two different ideas, and I am rather than give it a long speed. I want to build an online marketplace for mastering services. Forget the education. Come on. Bands that need mastering can come to a website rather than the opaque billing and contacting studios directly. So come to the website, see transparent billing, see what each additional item will cost, and then have an internal bidding process between our approved studios, and just A/B tracks on the website, pick your artist,
Oh,
and get your files.
I mean,
weekly.
pick your mastering engineer. Is that what you mean?
Pick your mastering engineer. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And how are you going to make money?
By charging a percentage. So same thing with the way iTunes makes money or Amazon makes money.
Okay.
Percentage of every
So whoever
person.
receives the money pays you. In your case, the mastering engineers.
Right.
Okay. And you're giving them free advertising.
Yes.
Okay. So that's okay. Well, that's an easier pain to think about because
Right.
the pain. So these are just individual people. These mastering engineers, or are they companies or recording?
There are
studios?
individual people trying to compete with giant 800-pound gorillas.
okay.
There's no
Right, like
medium
disc
size.
makers would be the gorilla, right?
Sterling Studios.
Okay.
Like all the Grammy albums are mastered by the same house,
Okay.
which has terrible pull.
All right. So let's go back to the previous question for you. What's the cost or pain or frustration that these mastering engineers are experiencing?
Individual, they don't have exposure, and they can't compete with the big guys in terms of marketing and outreach and reaching people outside of their town
Okay.
or area.
Okay. So then for you it would be, I hate for you to, what? How would you fill in that blank? talking to the mastering engineer?
I would hate for you to miss clients that can't travel to you directly. I'd hate
Oh.
for you to build your own website and
I see.
have to have all the infrastructure to send tracks online.
I see.
I'd hate for you to have to pay money in marketing and advertising.
Right, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could say, a lot of people spend more on advertising than they make back, right, in services. I'd hate for you to, maybe you spend $1,000 on advertising and get, how much would they get from one mastering client typically?
1,500.
Okay.
So
So you say maybe you spend $5,000 on advertising and only get one client out of it. I mean, why take that risk, right? I'd hate for you to gamble your hard-earned money, right? And and end up losing, right,
Right.
on your advertising. Why take that gamble when you can, get basically free advertising, for and pay in direct proportion to the money that you make, right? Okay. So John's entrepreneurs.
I feel pretty clear about
Yeah.
pay points and all the communication about that.
Okay. So give me one. I'd hate for you to.
Oh, well, I'd hate for you to have to give up your life's work because you just don't know how to do a simple thing as simple as marketing.
Right.
Or I'd hate to have you have to give up on your dream in life because you don't know how to manage your own money.
Okay. So let's go a little further. I'd hate for you to have to give up on your dream.
And die broke.
Resign to a shit job,
Mhm.
right? That sitting there in a cubicle for 40 hours a week, building someone else's empire instead of your own.
And so your point is that extend and create all of the story. The
Yeah,
long,
yeah,
hard
yeah.
one.
Take it further. Take
Yeah.
it further than just the obvious cost.
Of course.
Um,
Because what that does is gets people present to it themselves, dreading it themselves. You get them into a dark, uncomfortable point, and they're going to turn around and they're going to click.
yes, that's the idea. I mean, I think I'll share with you something that I put in our video. Okay, so about this time last year, I went to a video sales letter training in Los Angeles with the guy that created 3X BSL or whatever it's called, John Benson. And so he taught, don't just talk about the obvious cost, but how would it go further, if it continued in that direction. And actually one method that he shared is tell either your story, if you have one, right, of your rags to riches story. And when I say rags, it doesn't have to mean you were poor. It could mean you were injured, right, and couldn't work out for 9 months. And your muscles atrophied and, you felt shitty about yourself. Or it could mean, your rags might be the time that, you were self-conscious on the dance floor and all the women walked away from you, and whatever, or the time that you were a mastering engineer, and people would take up your time asking you questions for an hour and then go hire the gorilla instead of you, So I'll share with you, now I didn't really have that kind of a really detailed story about, hitting bottom. That's really what it is, hitting bottom for vegetarianism. So what I did, what John said is, I said, I have some case studies, students of ours, who did have a more dramatic story. So he worked with me on the story of one of them, and basically goes like this. So Kate was a longtime vegetarian, and at 49 years old, she, her autoimmune numbers were off the wall. She had endocrine problems, autoimmune. She had deep dark circles under her eyes. She, her health was just deteriorating, and basically, her husband called her ridiculous for not eating meat and divorced her at the worst time ever when her health hit bottom. And she was so, her health was, she only had 4 years left to qualify for her retirement package at her job, but she didn't even know she'd live 4 more years. So she needed all of her energy to, recuperate her health, she left her job taking an enormous cut in her retirement benefits. So there she was taking a physical, financial, and emotional beating, afraid of dying young and alone. And at that very moment, she drew a line in the sand and said, never again will I let my diet cost me my health and happiness. And that's the hit bottom story, right? And that's when, then what happened that turned it around. So normally, if it's your story, you'd say, that's when, I, combined, an ancient technique, with, some trial and error stuff I did myself, whatever it is, you have your own way that you figured out a solution to your problem, right? Maybe you read 3 books and saw a special doctor from India and combined the methods together. But right now, what I want to focus more on is the rags to riches story, the hitting bottom story. Because what's the value of this is you don't have to say to the person, or if you do later, like it's a little hard to say to you, I'd hate for you, you're close to being vegan, right? Or you've been vegan on and off. Okay. So imagine you're vegan and I say, John, you're reading a sales copy, you're watching a video. John, I'd hate for you to, be abandoned by your wife or, lose your retirement package because you had to, leave your job early because you were so sick. You'd be like, this guy's manipulating me. This is like fear tactics.
Right.
But when I tell you my story, or this Kate's story, which is also a true story, that's not manipulation, that's what really happened. And then if I then say, I'd hate for you to wind up like me, I'd hate for you to wind up like Kate, being abandoned by your partner or losing your retirement benefits, it's like, it's not just out of thin air like a manipulative thing. You're referencing a true story, like, I don't want this to happen to you. I don't want you to, in my case, it's like, I don't want you to be one of those people who, goes back to eating meat, and blames it on your diet because you didn't know how to combine foods the right way to absorb all the nutrition from your meals, So it's like, so it's not manipulative if you told your own story or someone else's story. And that person really hit bottom and detail all the things that happened for them, right? Preferably yourself. All right.
But I do want to point out that it is technically still manipulative.
I was about to say,
I have the
it
same
quote
thing.
marks right here, not manipulative.
Well, you just have to decide what your tolerance is less.
Right.
I mean,
and
if you want to...
you're evoking a feeling. I get that.
Right.
But it is
By
a true
literal
story.
definition
and,
of manipulation.
right. Exactly.
So
So-
it's more like,
Legitimate feeling. Yeah.
Right.
I'm not saying manipulation is inherently bad. I just want
Okay.
to point out
totally.
what it is.
That's what I was.
Right. I mean, if I ask a woman out on a first date and I pay for dinner, that's kind of manipulation.
Totally.
You know.
Absolutely.
Or if she wears makeup and,
Manipulation
right,
right there.
yeah, right, exactly.
The thing I would say though is it's not quote the big lie.
But telling a true story is not a big lie either.
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. I'm
Yeah.
saying is that you're, as opposed to the way you were defining it before, it
Yeah.
sounded more like you're like, well, you don't just make some shit up. And then all of a sudden throw some weight behind it. So-
Yeah, the weight is
Right.
the real story. Like, this happened to me.
Exactly.
This happened to Kate.
Right.
Yeah, right. So, and if you whether you use a story or not, you don't have to use a story. But my point is that emotional pain is what makes people compelled to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting
Um,
present to it.
Right. And then so the other side of that is now there's two kinds of prospects. One is they know they have the problem and they're seeking a solution. Right? Like, I know that I'm shy on the dance floor and I feel self-conscious and I'm seeking a solution. Right? Or I know that, women don't come when I have sex with them. So I'm seeking a solution. Or I know that I know that I'm failing in my business and losing money on my advertising, so I'm seeking a solution. Right? That's one kind of prospect. There's already seeking a solution. That's kind of an easier prospect, actually. So let's talk about that first. Now you need to prove that you're the best solution. So how are you going to do that? Because, right, like, let me give you, let's think up. I'll just use you guys as real examples. Okay, so Brian, in your words, or what did you wrote down earlier? What's the frustration or pain that someone would be experiencing if they have this problem?
What I said was unfulfilled,
Lonely, depressed,
lonely,
frustrated.
frustrated.
So can you think of an actual man like that you've known and that's been your client or a friend of yours?
Sure, yeah, friend.
Okay. So as you think about this friend, so imagine that he's seeking the solution.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to show him, if he wasn't your friend already, rather, like if he didn't know you yet? How would you prove that you're the best solution, or your training, whatever it is, teleseminars, info product, that's the best solution versus anything else that might be claiming to solve the same problem?
I have no idea.
It was funny when
I
you
mean, I
first
have
asked
some
that.
ideas, but
Right, when you first asked that, I was like, how do I know? But I think that what you did is if you laid out the competition and then explained why they only did so much and that every single point that you laid out, because everything else leaves them in their own world of like, well, yeah, I could go to AMP, or maybe Philippe knows a good coach, he's tall, and and you could. But if what you did is if you were able to like basically overcome their objections before they've even asked them, then you leave yourself as the only solution.
yeah.
I like the overcome their objections before they've even asked them. The one thing that had me hesitate was the beginning part where you started talking about the competition. Because if you're talking about the competition before they've brought them up, then you have brought them into their awareness. When they may or may not be aware of them in the first place.
We're talking about people that are looking.
That are looking for a solution, right?
Well, I'm
And
just
you
saying.
might have actually two different sales offers, right? Depending who it is, if you can. We'll get to that later.
Bless you.
That's
Here, I have an idea to stir your brains. What I want you to do is think of a time that recently or whenever that you sought a solution to a problem that you knew you had and you knew you wanted to solve, and you considered more than one person, or the solution provider, whatever you want to call it. But don't think of like AWeber versus eye contact. I want you to think of something where it's like a person, this person or that person, or maybe it's this training. This would be even better, like this training program or coaching program versus that training or coaching program, because that's what we're pretty much all offering in some form, right? So go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that comes to my mind right away is hearing from trusted sources to me that they said this or that, as far as like, so if you are the two people who are offering the service, and it's like, and 3 out of 4 people that I know all said, oh, John's the guy.
Right.
And one person said, oh, I've worked with her, she's great. It's like, I don't know John. That's like, John's kind of sounds like the guy.
Right.
Okay.
Reputation.
That gives me an idea of something to talk about, but let's see what else. Who else has an experience where they were choosing between 2 coaching programs or trainings or whatever, and what was the deciding factor?
Now, what we don't have is the do a training program versus just not doing anything.
Yeah, that's not.
Because we're searchers.
It could be
We're gonna
hire someone to give me one-on-one, coaching or whatever, or services, versus doing this coaching program. That's okay.
So
But yeah, there has to be at least 2 choices to talk about here right now.
are you asking why did we pick one versus the other?
Yeah, if there was more than one choice.
And there's all kinds of factors. I mean, there's
Yeah.
the price of it, there's how their website looks, how it's laid out. Is it too wordy and flashy? I'm really put off by programs that are 10 pages of scrolling down the flashy stuff, and I just don't even read it.
Right.
I'm like, it's alright. And
That says trust to me.
yeah, I want to trust that they're, they have integrity, and they I mean, it's clearly the people that have 10 pages of shit, they have their shit together, but it feels like they're almost selling empty material rather than real substance.
I would say
But you know what? Let me just pause you there. Who were the 2 people? I want to hear about the 2 people that you were choosing between.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just thinking. I can't think of a particular time that. Like, I'm thinking right now about my choice to do Somatica and what drew me to them and their website and their training program,
Was there
opposed to doing like,
so
opposed to doing sexological body work or doing,
I see.
or doing like Alexis and Guy's
Art of circling.
art of circling training, or maybe other things I could invest into, but like something about Somatica was just like
What's the
it
something?
felt right. Like I said, it's a lot of factors. It was the website. It was also like it felt more aligned with like who I am and the direction I'm going. It was more specific around sexuality, relationships, intimacy. Where circling is a little broader range. Sexological bodywork's way too focused on like the genitals.
Okay.
So there's like knowing what the programs would actually bring to me in my life. But there was also some level of like just how the websites were laid out and displayed and pictures and ad copy, like all those price, timing of when the actual training was, the structure of the training.
Okay. Some of those things are a little
Logistics.
separate from what I can address from so let's leave it at that.
Cool. I was just giving you lots of things that I imagine factor into.
I have something that might be a good example. I was actually in 2007.
Yeah.
I had $500, and Guy Sangstock wanted me to take me on as a coaching client. He was very hungry, and so was Kevin O'Malley. And I had to choose like who am I going to do coaching with, and I had done RTA. I'd even been on production team. I was pretty like high on both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But the question was like, who was I going to take on as a coach with $500 that I didn't really have to spend? And the reputation was what I really was like talking to my people about them,
Mm-hmm.
but I was also really just looking at like, who do I trust to see me more?
Right.
And I totally went with Kevin because I believe that he's more real to me.
Okay.
More like straight up honest. Not honest. It's not the guy isn't totally honest, but it's like I trusted Kevin to know more of what was going on with me. Even though some part of me is like, wow, guy may have some magic for me, but like Kevin was like, oh yeah, he's the real deal.
Okay. Okay. Hollis, you were going to say something.
Being heard while talking about my startup and teaching people audio. Got very good responses from various people, and literally from one person I told my whole story, I did pitch the company. Her first response was, "Oh, you could do that for veterans and hire veterans to do mastering services and stuff." Just took it into her world and ran with it. Like, well, no, it's not what I'm doing at all. And other people spoke to John. John said, "Oh, you're doing this exactly. You're going to worry about this." I haven't worried about that yet. It's exactly where I'm going. So some people hear me and they're on me, and other people are thinking about how to adapt it into what they're doing already.
Oh, I see.
Or go the wrong direction.
Okay. Okay, so the challenge I have with some of the answers you guys have given me is that I imagine if you were selling, a teleseminar series or info product, you wouldn't be having a conversation with every prospect, right? Where they could see if they felt heard and all that. You want to, ideally, from the best efficiency of your time, you want to, through whatever, videos, sales pages, or a live teleseminar or webinar, something like that, talk to 100 or 1,000 people at once, right? Without having to engage with them. Of course, if you do a teleseminar or webinar, you can have a live Q&A at the end of it. So, all right.
Mostly it's a one-way communication. You pitch.
If you're selling an $18,000 service, then it makes more sense that you would have an hour-long call with them, right?
Right.
Or even maybe an $8,000 service. But for $500 or less, which is my world, there's not a need to do that.
If you have the platform.
What does that mean?
The number of people, the audience. If you can reach an audience of 1,000 or 5,000. If what you only got is 10 people on your email list.
Oh, I see.
Then
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, well, actually, okay, so a couple things that come up for me there. Let's talk about that. Well, two things kind of go together. There's one of my mentors, the one that I paid the most money to, is named Ryan Dice. He's an internet marketing expert. Sharp guy. He has an event called Traffic and Conversion that's in San Diego next month, and it's not very expensive. But 2 years ago, I did in San Francisco, and that was really good because it could go without traveling. Now, the name of his event is Traffic and Conversion. Which one's more important?
Conversion.
Oh, you guys are good.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like
Yes and yes. Because if you don't get one, you don't have the other.
Actually, that's not. I would disagree, and I'll
it
tell you
really
why.
just is conversion.
Well, here's the thing. If let's say that whatever the sales funnel is, a sales funnel, an online sales funnel means, your method of getting people from their first glance at your website or even your first ad to becoming a customer. So it could look. There's all kinds of ways that could look. Maybe they just come from an affiliate or an ad to your sales letter. They click add to cart and they buy it. That's the simplest. Or it could be they come from whatever source to an opt-in to get a free thing. They get the free thing. It convinces them to buy it, whatever. But here's the deal. There's a million ways to get traffic to your site. You can do blogging, you can do guest blogging, you can do SEO, you can do advertising, you can do affiliates. I mean, there's like at least dozens of ways, right, that you could busy yourself getting traffic to your site. But what happens if you don't convert people when they get there? If you're running ads, you're going to lose money on your ads. If you're getting traffic from affiliates, they're not going to promote for you again because they're not going to earn much, and they're not going, and it'll be a bad earnings per click. In other words, the relationship of commissions they earn to the amount of traffic they sent you, they'll be disappointed with, and then they won't promote for you again, nor will they recommend other affiliates to you. So, if you do guest blog posts and you drive people to your site, like I was dating a woman who said, hey, I did a guest blog post and I got like 75 new email subscribers. That's pretty good, actually. But if she doesn't have a way to convert them, or if she has a way that's not effective, then she's kind of spinning her wheels, getting these visitors and email subscribers that aren't converting to customers. And people who join your email list are the most engaged and receptive in the first week or a couple weeks of being on your list. The longer they've been on the list, the less likely they are to open your messages. I mean, some people will, there is a contingent that will over